Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter of From Nothing, Lorna's story. And we are picking up right where we left off. You have just dealt with the uncomfortable circumstance of Amanda, the questionable little girl that needed help, quote unquote.
Really very nice.
Yes, yeah. But we're going to fast forward a little bit. So I guess I shouldn't say right where we left off, because we are going to fast forward just by a day. Or rather, I think it was actually you only had 8 hours of travel left.
You said the expectation that we will arrive in Auger City in the afternoon of the next day.
Okay. Then we will fast forward to the afternoon of the next day, as you have completed the challenges that I had arranged for you, random or otherwise. And as you are approaching Auger City, it is a sight to behold. Auger City is gleaming and brilliant and enormous. It stretches across, right in front of and across, a massive river that seems to come down from the mountains that you just passed by. And while the city is nestled atop this river, everything you could possibly need could be found here. It is a conglomeration of trade, visitors, people flying in on airships, people walking in on carts, people coming up the river from the Bay of Blades and Kylus Bay, from all over the world to Auger City. As far inland as it is nonetheless still a hub. Except now, there are a lot more airships than anybody has seen at any one time heading into Auger City. And as you're approaching, they were flying overhead in toward Auger City a bit like flocks of seagulls. Massive flagships with small escorts of various smaller airships flying overhead. Some of them extremely loud, some of them quiet as an owl. All of them heading to one place, the capital of Aurelia, to take part in the King's Moot. The very same purpose as to why you are escorting Callowin and his own trusty guard, Dorset. The massive broad gates of Auger City, speaking from the western side of the city, are open to you, and you are not the only people on this road. It seems as though it is actually quite crowded trying to get into Auger City right now. Not that there is a bottleneck, there just is a lot of people coming and going. And as you're making your way, how does Lorna handle a crowd?
I don't think poorly.
Okay. She's not, like, overwhelmed or...
Oh, no. I mean, back when she still lived in Saris with her father, it's not like she was kept at home all the time. She went to social events and to keep up appearances, so she's been around many people.
These are not noblemen that you would find at one of the cross-party parties. These are the common folk. These are people going about their business. These are traders and farmers and merchants and craftsmen. Some of them don't smell very good. Some of them, some of them might try and tip a coin from the belt of such noble-looking folk, and so I require a a perception check, please.
Oh no! I only have so much coin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, terrible! Tear.
Okay.
Help. If he wants to get my good graces, rescuing my coin purse will be definitely one of the up there ones.
Noted and logged. Tier is dealing with his own problems. As all of you are heading into the city, you are so densely packed into people that the four of you are pretty close together. But it is impossible to just maintain a tight-knit group with this many people flowing around you. There are people calling, there are vendors trying to sell you wares, even though there are literally, like, 5 people between you and that vendor, but he will say, You there with the brilliant hair! Do you not need a new silken veil? Just all sorts of shouts for your commerce. However, with a 9, you get into the city. Immediately, once you're through the gates, it seems as though the crowd lessens up a little bit as they cluster to get in, and then it spreads out. Which I will pull over to the map, where you will learn you've entered through the ferry gate.
The ferry gate, where is that? I see it.
Yes. And as you are now in the town, Tier would glance over at you and say, "Aye. Lorna, you've been cut first."
I've been what?
He points down to your pouch, your coin purse.
Yeah, I look.
It is clear someone has slipped a razor along the bottom of your coin purse.
Is it all gone?
Was it all be in that bag?
I mean, Lorna's pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how street smart she is. Can I roll like a wisdom check to see if she would have
Sure.
maybe had like pocket change in one, but the rest in her bag of holding?
I'll let you roll for that. Yeah, roll me a wisdom check.
Thank God. That's a decent roll.
Okay. How much of her gold would have been in that pouch?
Well, she has a total of 51 gold. She probably would have like 5 gold on her person.
In that purse?
Yeah.
It's
and
gone.
the rest of it, like, okay, great. At least it's not all of it.
So now that purse is destroyed, and it flows in the wind, empty, disappointingly.
There are bad people here.
Tier just kind of looks at you and says, "First time in the big city?"
First time in Auger City, and I never had this kind of problem back home. There was
Right.
more guards with me when I was back home, but that's beside the point. I guess I'm the guard now.
Lord Calwyn just pats your head.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy the thing I wanted to buy. That place Carlisle told me about.
What are you trying to buy?
An amulet.
Alright. Well, I'm sure we can find a place that might sell one, but first we have to settle with our lord here.
Yes, I know. Priorities. We're going to Cavendish's, Cavies, something like that. I think that's what Tabernacle told me.
Cavies. It's a friendly bar just up off the Windstar in the Fog Rock. At least that's what the directions told me. I've never been there before.
Oh, I was going to ask that. All right.
Dorset looks between you and says, "Please, I have been there before. Please follow me."
I'm going to be very conscientious about my fucking...
Yeah, you're on
purse
guard.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I have said that entering, I would have had Requiem turned back into his snake form?
Yeah.
Can he shuffle in the folds of my clothes to be near my waist where my other pouch is, just so he can, like, keep an eye on it?
I will watch it for you.
Fight anyone who tries to take my shit.
Okay. Yeah, you now have a ghostly belt.
That's so cool!
All you need to do is ask. Requiem wraps himself around your waist. His mouth is... His little white, beady ghost eyes and mouth are right near your pouch.
Yeah, I hope someone tries to mug me now. I want him to fight.
Roll me a D100.
Oh, God. Now I'm not so sure. 77. I don't like that look on your face.
I got to roll. Okay. So you are walking your way down towards the Fog Rock, which you have no idea where that is, but Dorset does. And as he leads the way through the town, suddenly you are passing by another vendor cart, And you hear in your mind, I have thwarted a potential thief, Lorna.
She's gonna look down at her belt.
You look down, and the little ghost face is looking up at you, and you kind of glance to the side, and you see this halfling going, just like walking off, holding his hand.
Shouldn't take things that don't belong to you. She's gonna call out after him.
He kind of glances over his shoulder and throws you the bird, and runs away.
I don't even know what that means.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
Fucking rude is what it is.
Yes, it is. But you understand that sign language.
I'm gonna give Requiem just a little pat on his tiny snake head.
A tiny little white ghost tongue just out the front of it.
I love him so much.
Anyway, as you cross the primary river going down... I'm sorry. I just misplaced where you were. As you cross the Noble District and head up to the Fog Rock, Cavi's is a large stone-built bar. It is a tavern that seems as though it's maybe 2 or 3 stories tall, and as you're approaching, it's handsome, but it's also extremely busy. And as you near it, you can hear the sounds of just business spilling out of the front. However, Dorset leads right up to the front door and walks in.
Dorset, do we have a reservation, or is this just like a...
Dorset stops and looks at you and he says, no, it's just...
Oh.
We're just going to get a room.
Okay, I've not traveled this way before.
We're trying to stay down low, as it were.
That makes sense. How long are we staying?
Well, me and the Lord are staying for maybe 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
You do not have to return with us if you don't want. However, there's a bonus in it for you.
Well, we'll play it by ear then, I think.
Very well. You see Lord Callowan out of your peripheral just kind of nods with the corners of the beard kind of lift up a little bit.
You want me to get the room so you can kind of keep low?
That's what I'm hoping for, yes.
Okay, great. 2 rooms? 3, 4? How many?
To be economical, we'll say 2.
Okay, and she's gonna like give like a sidelong look at Tier and then go
Tier
to,
shrugs.
The bar to see if she can get some rooms.
Okay, the tavern is busy. However, as you're approaching the bar, you see that the entire countertop is handsomely carved wood, and above it, on the wall, you see there is a very ornate and decorated fiddle. Down below it, you see that there is a kind of, I don't want to say smarmy, but dashing-looking human man with a goatee who is dealing with all sorts of customers, and as soon as you approach, he says, "One moment, I'll be right with you."
Take your time. I'll just find a stool.
Sounds perfect. And then he continues dealing with the customer that he's talking to. And finally, after you're waiting maybe a minute, he has cleared away the customers that were before you and steps in front of you and says, "What can I do for you?"
I was hoping to get some rooms.
Of course. How many?
Let's say 2.
What? Okay, how many of you are staying? I happen to have a room with 4 beds and 3 rooms with 2 beds.
How about 2 of the 2 beds?
Perfect. That'll be... How many nights are you staying?
3, maybe 4.
It's 5 silver a night.
Each room?
No, in total.
Oh, sure. That's
2 silver, 5 copper a night for 1 room. So 5 silver a night.
That's fine. Pay it in advance. Do you want it all?
That would be nice.
That's 2 gold. Here you go. She's gonna slide it across the table.
And in return, just as smoothly, he slides 2 keys to you. Each one has a different number on them. The first key has a 3, and the second key has a 5.
Okay. So they're not next to each other. That's fine. I do have a question for you.
I am happy to oblige.
You live around here?
I live here. This is my home. This is my bar.
Oh! So you're Cabby?
Cavendish, but my friends call me Cavi.
That makes sense. It's a lovely place. My first time in Auger City. I'm actually looking for a shop.
Oh, well, maybe.
You might know it. It's called the Spellbound Tomb.
Well, of course I know it. If you simply, he points out the door, and he says, you head 4 blocks that way, and then 2 to the left, you'll find it. The front of it, the door looks like a book cover. You can't miss it.
Great. Do you know if the person who owns it is reasonable? Good prices?
Roll me a persuasion check.
All right. I'm so charming.
Natural 20.
Yeah.
Typically not to strangers. However, if you tell him old Cavi sent you, he'll probably cut you some slack.
Well, thank you very much.
I haven't caught your name.
Oh, you can call me Lorna.
I could call you many things, but Lorna it will be.
She's just gonna not know how to respond to that, so her face will turn red.
He kind of knocks on the counter and says, is there anything else I can get you? Maybe a drink, company?
We've provided excellent company so far. Let me see if my companions want something.
Very well, I will be here.
Okay. She's gonna turn around and see if I want someone to drink, or if they have a plan for the day.
It seems like the king's mood is in 2 days, based on what Lord Callowan tells you. So until then, they need to lay low. So Lord Callowan looks to you and says, would you please arrange for meals and drink to be brought to a room?
Okay, with discretion?
Yes.
Interesting.
And you hear Dorset says, Mr. Cavendish is supposed to be very good about that. Okay. From what I understand, anyway. From what I've heard.
I'll give you one of the keys now, and she'll slide the one that says 5 to them. You could go up. I could ask them to bring you up something.
They do immediately. They both nod, and Lord Cavendish just kind of says, thank you. And they head upstairs.
She's gonna nudge Tier and say, it's just you and me now.
Just you and me.
Yeah. How about you come to the bar with me and we'll arrange this?
Sounds like a date.
No, sounds like you've got some competition. And without elaborating...
Oh, do I?
Go to the bar. Say, hello, Cavi. I'm back.
Cavi is now handling another customer. So he holds up a finger, deals with them, and then finally, as he approaches, he says, welcome back. How can I help you?
I'd love to arrange general food and drink to be brought to room 5 with subtlety.
The room 5. Okay. This is no problem. Do they need a password or a special knock?
Room service?
That usually works. Okay.
They'll be able to gauge your intention by that.
And there are 2 individuals.
Yes.
All right, no problem.
Who could probably eat quite a bit, if I'm just judging by their stature.
Noted. We got 2 large individuals in room 5. Okay. Is there anything else?
I could use a drink.
You and me both, but I'm working. And you, Master Tier, I hear? And Tier looks at him and says, oh, I look at ale. And he looks at you.
Whatever you think suits me best.
Cavi says, I have a particular red wine I favor over anything else. And he pours an ale for Tier, and he pours you a glass of wine. And looking between the 2 of you, he says, that'll be 1 silver in total. And before you can reach into your bag, Tier slaps a silver onto the counter.
Oh, you're fast.
Ranger.
Right, of course.
Cavendish says, now, if you 2 beautiful people are not doing anything later, I will be here to help you. However, I have other customers, so...
I understand, thank you so much.
No problem. And he heads down the bar to deal with the other people that have shown up. And Tier with a large tankard of ale set in front of him, takes a sip of it, and he says, "Ooh, this is Huffling. That's nice."
Yeah? I
Aye.
don't really know the difference.
Aye, they like to use a lot more sweets in their ale, and it comes right through. It cuts through the bitterness. It's quite nice. You want to try?
Sure. Okay. Chill.
It's fruity. There's a hint of nut to it. It is not bitter. It's definitely not like a juice, but it is. It's more mellow than anything else.
I've been drinking a lot more than I have in my entire life in the past week or two.
Well, when you spend all your time either fighting things or trying not to die, you have to forget about it somehow, eh?
Gross.
Well, that's the life of an adventurer. You did sign up for it.
In a manner of speaking, I suppose I made that choice. She's gonna drink her own wine.
I have a question for you.
Oh?
You don't have to sound quite so exasperated.
Sorry. Oh?
That's better. So, I can't help but notice that necklace you're wearing. It shines even when there's no light on it. And that makes me a little nervous. It kind of makes me feel like it's going to blow up. And I wanted to know if that's likely.
She'll touch... Oh, saccharin, she's assuming he's talking about.
Yeah, you hear... Huh? What?
Oh, no, don't. Sorry.
All right.
With you.
No problem.
You're actually very keen, because this will, in fact, blow up.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's amazing, really.
So...
It's really, I have to intend for it to blow up. It's not like any whoops.
So, do you have a bit of a temper?
I guess you'll just have to find that out the hard way.
Great. He takes a long slug of the ale.
Thought I was going to make this easy for you. Hilarious.
Well, I wasn't expecting easy. A challenge is what's worth the hunt for. But when there's the risk of bodily harm, one tends to toe the line a little bit more carefully, that's all.
Oh. Well, I kind of like that. I could just blow you up if I wanted to. That's a little spice.
Well, I suppose. It just means that I have to show you just how good I am at handling danger.
You've done a pretty good job so far. I've seen you with the bow, and that's beside the point. If I use this, and she fingers one of the beads on the gem on the necklace, me, you, and everybody within a 40-foot sphere would just be terminated.
Right? Can you not use it on yourself?
Of course, I could throw it, but close range is not exactly the use that it's designed for.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. So it's good for the at distance situation.
Yes, this is not a close quarters.
Me
not
and
ideally.
Me and that mentality sort of get along. He kind of looks back at the bow over his shoulder.
Oh, right. Oh, do you think you'd be able to fire one?
He looks at one of the beads and then at his bow, and he says, "I can't really put a rock on the bowstring, so I'm going to say no."
Okay, but maybe a sling could.
Maybe.
I should look into that. I'm not really good with my hands. We need to get you a sling. I actually need to go shopping if you wanted to come with me.
I'm not really rich in money right now.
Neither am I, but things still need to be purchased.
All
How
right.
about this? You're not buying anything, but you're making sure someone doesn't mug me again.
No more lightning of the pockets, as it were.
Only if I choose to.
Oh, I think we can do that.
I need an escort, and I think you're right for the job.
Are you sure? I saw you looking at Mr. Bodyguard back on the road there. And not that I mind, he was a good-looking fellow.
There was perfectly professional interest.
And unprofessional, for certain.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You bite your lip at every professional interest, then?
I guess you wouldn't know.
Not yet.
She's gonna down the wine. Yeah.
Roll con save.
She's not a practiced drinker.
Give me a con save.
Okay, it's good. It's not bad.
16. You are buzzed.
This is great stuff.
Wine's not really my flavour. Bit too pretentious,
Oh, that it suits me perfectly.
I'd say.
Okay, all right. She's
You-
gonna push the glass
You
back.
set yourself up for these. I'm going to walk right through the door, Lorna.
You're not supposed to. I'm allowed to acknowledge these things about me. You're not.
Not yet.
No, and she's gonna leave, expecting him to follow her.
He does. He follows you. Okay, so you are leaving Cavies. And you are looking for, I assume,
Spellbound 2.
the Spellbound Tomb.
I got two reference names, Cavi and Carlisle, for this guy. So you better drop that price down like crazy.
I better.
I said he better.
Oh, okay.
The DM can do what he wants.
Okay, so you have directions on how to find the Spellbound Tomb. So roll me an investigation with advantage.
Okay.
$23. It doesn't take you long. The Spellbound Tomb is a handsome structure, just as Cavi described. There is a brown leather. It looks like it's just some sort of cheap facade until you get close and you realize it's actually dozens of actual spellbook covers that have been either maybe adhered or plastered to this door, making it look old and weathered. But the rest of the structure seems in good shape and well maintained. You go straight in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Spellbound Tomb looks more like a bookstore, except that at the top of every shelf are clocks. But they're not normal clocks. Roll me an Arcana check.
Okay. Pretty good.
Each clock has symbols where the numbers would be on a typical clock. Some of them are strange arcane runes. Some of them are small paintings of unusual things. One looks like a mountain. The next one looks like a small starry plane. The next is a swirl of brilliant purple and black and blue colors. With your high Arcana check, these clocks are not telling time. They're telling the positions of the planes.
What do you mean by positions?
With your high Arcana check, you are aware that the distant and more near planes are constantly shifting, if ever so slightly. Sometimes they grow closer to the prime material plane, and sometimes they grow farther. These clocks can tell you, maybe at a glance, where they are approximately. And should you be a wizard intending to research one of these planes, it's easier to do so when they are closer.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
And then you are suddenly brought back to awareness as a dwarf behind the counter looks up and says, hello, how can I help you, miss?
Oh, hello. I'm in the market for some magical items, and I was told by two good friends of mine that you were where I needed to come.
Oh, then you've come to the right place.
She's gonna walk up. She says, my friends Carlisle and Cavendish, or Cabby, of course, said that I might be able to find something I've been looking for.
Well, mayhaps. What is it you're looking for?
Just gonna kind of glance at Tier, see how far away he is. If he's right up behind me, or
He's next to you.
Well,
He followed you.
Yeah, he already knows there's something up with me. She's gonna lean against the counter and say, I'm looking for an amulet. Protection against detection.
All right. Well, and he picks up a ledger and he opens it up and begins shuffling through it. Let's see. A proof against divination, I see. That's going to be 125 gold.
Oh, I see. That's a very fair price. It's just a little out of my range at the moment.
Alright, I see. I see where you're coming from. Have you anything to trade, maybe?
Her mind briefly flickers to saccharine, but she's like, no. That'd be really fucked up.
You hear in your mind. I heard that.
I was not even realistically considering it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, by way of objects, no, but I will be in town for the next 4 days. I could do something to pay it off.
How much time have you got?
I'm pretty much free, for the bulk of those 4 days.
Well...
And I think I'm a pretty skilled arcane practitioner.
You're a wizard then?
I am.
Alright. I have some work for you if you're willing to do it, but it will take all your time.
This is of the utmost importance to me, sir.
Do you know how to inscribe scrolls?
I do.
Good. Here's what you can do. And he gestures for you to come back behind the counter. And Tier's standing there like...
Just look around. I'll be right back.
Right. I'll be around. The dwarf leads you into the back and he says, I wouldn't normally offer this to anybody who just comes in off the street. However, with both my cousins speaking out for you, as well as Cavi, I'm sure we can make an arrangement. And he leads you toward one of the desks, and you see that there is just a mountain of parchment. And he says, I require scrolls to be inscribed for sale here. Tell me, what spells have you already been educated in?
You'll tell him. I could just... my whole spell book, I suppose.
I'm going to look at it.
And I even made a spell of my own, so...
Right. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. Do you have Identify?
I do.
Okay. It's not in your foundry, so just wanted to ask. He says, there's a few here that are going to be quite high value, and I will pay you to inscribe them. I need, you see he's doing math, maybe 10 Identify scrolls and 5 Detect Magic scrolls. Can you make those for me?
Takes 2 hours to do per level.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 hours for Identify, and it would be... and he said half as many?
Yeah.
Wait, what was the total?
10
scrolls. Oh my god, no, that's 20 hours.
Yeah.
And 5 Detect Magic.
So
That's
30 hours total.
30 hours, that's a whole work week. I can do that, and that sounds like a very reasonable trade.
Well, the going rate for inscribing scrolls is about 20 gold. So, should you inscribe these scrolls for me, I'll pay you for each one. And then we can take the price of that amulet you're looking for right off the top, and then you'll just get the surplus. Does that sound fair to you?
Incredibly generous, thank you so much. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Tandy.
Tandy. Just like your cousin said, that you were very agreeable.
I'd like to think so. It's my charming personality, I hear.
That's what he said, you know?
My wife says I'm monotone, but I don't think she's right.
Well... she just says, well...
Right. You can find supplies on this wall. You're welcome to take lunches whenever you like. I hope to see these scrolls out of you in the next few days.
course.
As you finish him, please just bring him up to me, eh?
Of course.
Okay, you've taken a job at the magic shop to try and make this gold. Scrolls, a first level scroll typically sells for 50 gold pieces, so you making 20 gold for each spell just for the work as he's providing the ingredients. This is a good way to earn money so long as the scrolls are needed. But this is going to take all your time. Now, you could finish this early if you choose to take exhaustion.
What do you mean by early, as opposed to this
So-
many days for how many days?
So typically, right now it's the afternoon of your first day in Auger City. If you work for 10 hours a day, you will not take a point of exhaustion. But any farther, and you will. However, you don't need to roll for this. You know how to inscribe scrolls. There's no spellcasting check. These are spells you have in your book. So you could take a point of exhaustion with no real penalty. At least none to this. You might have encounters and such like that, but... And if you want to explore Auger City, this is kind of a damper in that.
Sure, but depending on your answer to this question now, can I use my mage hand to help me?
No.
Damn it. I was hoping to do like 2 at once.
No, you can't do that. It requires your concentration and effort to inscribe a scroll. And the mage hand has no mind of its own, so you can't do more than one at once.
Right.
However, I just had the idea you could ask Requiem to help you.
Really?
Yes?
With his little doggy paws?
I don't see why not.
Okay. I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
He's a good boy and very, very wise.
Hold on a second. I'm looking at...
Or it could be like a little monkey.
Hold on a second here. I am looking at Requiem's block. He's proficient in Arcana. Yeah, he could. He could help you.
He could be like a little spider monkey with a little quill.
I will say, for Requiem to help you, he will have to roll an Arcana check.
That's fine.
But he's basically just going to be mirroring what you're doing. I will say with Requiem's help, you'll shave off 25% of the time needed. So instead of 30 hours, it'll be about 24 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
But do me a favor and roll me an Arcana check for Requiem. So just roll me a d20.
Okay.
It's a first level spell, so the DC's 11.
Requiem. Yes!
Okay. Yeah.
Such a smart boy.
Requiem understands how to do it. And he watches you make the first scroll, and he takes the form of a crow.
Okay.
That holds the quill in its beak and begins to write it with the quill in its beak.
Rack, I'm gonna get you so much gravy after this.
I am counting on it. I would have been at peace just waiting. But I felt the need to make myself useful here.
You're so useful, and I love you so much.
The crow ghost just kind of looks at you with quill just dangling out of its beak, and then tilts its head back and continues working.
I would tell Thierry he doesn't have to wait for me, and I appreciate that he came with me.
Okay. Thierry will accept that and just go do something else.
If I finish early, we'll meet up and do something fun.
He says, "Don't forget, we do have to help him get to the Kingsmoot, so
Of course. I'll
job's
try to
not
finish this
done."
before then. Or at least most of it.
Best of luck.
Thanks.
All right. So, I'm going to allow you an opportunity here to do this expediently. So, why don't you roll me a... Well, let's see. Lorna's perfectly used to concentrating on something for a long period of time. She's studied to be a wizard, so that's not really the problem. How about just give me a... Give me a dexterity check.
Oh no. Oh,
Okay.
Modifier of 0. That could have been way worse.
Well, I had decided the DC was 18 to improve your speed here. You rolled a natural
Really
19.
practiced.
Yeah.
handwriting.
So you hammer these spell scrolls out. We'll shave another 25% off. So you get it done in 15 hours. Now,
Woohoo!
do you push yourself to exhaustion?
No.
Okay. Then you would finish them. Basically, coming here working full time. You hammer out you and Requiem hammer out 15 scrolls in 15 hours, which is kind of astounding.
Yeah, I bet Tanny's super impressed.
When each one you finish him, he always looks at it and says, "Already," and then he looks at it and he opens the scroll and he's like, "Oh, that's identify, okay." And he kind of, you see, he tucks it into a crate, and very rapidly, almost like a montage, this crate just boop, 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 boop. It's just a 3x5 crate filled with scrolls. And when it's all done, after a day and a half of just pounding out these scrolls, Tandy looks at the crate, shuts it, and you see he's got some paperwork, and he says, "That was fantastic work, honestly.
Thank you.
You are welcome back anytime." And he sets on the counter in front of you an amulet of proof against detection.
She's gonna take it, just hold it reverently in her hands, like, I've been waiting for this. And for the first time in a while, she thinks that she almost feels a little safe.
Okay. You put it on?
Yeah, she's gonna put that bitch on.
Okay. As soon as you
What did
do...
I get on top of that, by the way?
Hold on. Hang on. We have to... Where's my... Okay, you've completed your personal quest.
I did! I did!
You've completed Safe from Scrying Eyes.
Not the way I thought I would, but...
You've made it a priority. And then on top of that, he says, it was 20 gold for each scroll. You did 15 scrolls for me, so that's 300 gold. Subtracting the amulet, that's going to be it's going to be 165 gold remaining. And he just stacks up the gold in front of you. Not bad for 2 days' work, is it?
No, I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're going to make me a nice and tidy profit off of these.
The next time I'm in Auger City, I'm sure I'll be able to pay you a visit.
Then I will see you then, Lorna.
Thank you so
Travel
much.
safe.
Just
The
gonna
dwarf
skip out the door.
dwarf is smiling underneath the mustache. It seems as though you've impressed the dwarf, which is hard to do.
This went so well.
You rolled a natural 19 to bang that out quickly, and you rolled an 8.
Really well,
yeah,
too.
okay. So the dice were in your favor here.
I'm gonna go back to Cavi's to get Requiem some gravy.
Okay, it is late in the evening right now. It's after dinner. It's about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. As you are heading down the streets in Auger City, in the Fog Rock District it's a nice place. There are what look like arcanely powered lanterns lining the streets to make it easy to see your way. It's a nice place, and as you return to Cavi's, it's not very busy, and you see that there is an individual behind the bar. Roll me a perception check.
Okay. Pretty good. Rolling really well tonight.
22. The goatee is the same. The clothes are the same. Except instead of a kind of dashing-looking human, you see a kind of dashing-looking red tiefling standing behind the bar. And as you enter, the individual looks at you and says, "Welcome back."
Good evening, Cabby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have food?
Of course I do. What are you looking for?
Anything with gravy.
Oh. Maybe. Let me go look.
I'll make it worth your while. I made a promise to someone.
I'll look extra hard. And he goes into the kitchen.
When he goes into the kitchen, Lorna's gonna take Snake Requiem off her belt and say, "Can be a dog again."
He turns into a dog.
He's gonna pat the stool next to her when she sits down at the bar so he can pop up.
He kind of floats up onto it.
He's
Cavi
gonna be a ghost dog when he comes back.
Cavi returns and he says, "Oh, we do have..." And he's looking at Requiem and he says, "That's new."
Yeah,
Do you
this
see-
is my buddy.
Okay.
Just gonna give him some scritches.
I thought I was seeing things. Okay. We do have a steak with a country gravy, and we do have, what looks like the remains of a roast turkey with brown gravy.
I'll take both.
Oh. The turkey's a couple days old, are you sure?
And she's gonna look at Requiem. Does that sound okay to you?
In your mind you hear, "That sounds just as good as the other thing."
Okay, that's what he's gonna have then. Yes, yes, please.
All right. And he...
What'll happen?
Cavi goes back in the kitchen, and he comes back out maybe a few minutes later with 2 platters. One of them is steaming hot, as if it's fresh from the oven. The other one looks warm, but it's not like steaming. He sets the steaming hot turkey in front of you, and he sets the warm country gravied steak in front of you, and he says, "You can have the turkey, but for the steak, I'll need 5 copper."
That's fine. She'll put it down.
So, where have you been?
I took up a little bit of a job just to fund a purchase. And it
And
worked out really well, so I'm
In your
very
mind,
pleased.
you hear, your neck's getting a little crowded around here.
Sorry, do you want me to wear you as, like, a bangle?
No. I guess you wanted to complain.
Wanted to be heard, I understand.
Yep.
You actually haven't talked to me in quite some time. Are you feeling alright?
I mean, I don't know if jewelry can get depression, but I don't really see why I exist right now.
Okay, we are still gonna work through that, I promise.
Okay.
Let's do some research first, though. Actually, I guess her mind will have gone, like, her face would have gone a little blank as she talked to Sakharin. And
Yeah, and
Cavi's
Cavi's just like, did you maybe just remember something, or are you tired?
Yeah, actually, both, but, is there a place I could, like, do some research?
The Arcanium.
I know what that is, yeah.
Yeah, you know what an Arcanium
Of
is.
course. There's one here, of course. Directions. Be lovely.
Of course. Go out behind this building to the main street heading toward Castletown. It's right on the verge of the park there. You'll see it as soon as you get out there.
Great, I'll do that.
Big white
Tomorrow?
dome. You can't miss them.
Tomorrow is the thing that we came here for, so I'll do it the next day? Yeah, that sounds good. Sorry, I'm speaking mostly to myself.
Okay. Anyway, would you
I'm
like
sure
a
you
drink with that, or...
Yes, please. Have you seen my companion around?
The Dashing Ranger.
I'm sure he'd call himself that, yes.
He is a good-looking guy. I'm not afraid to say myself.
He's hasn't wasted a minute on this trip making me try to believe that too, so...
Well, can you blame him?
And I'm not sure.
Have you looked in the mirror lately?
No, I generally try to avoid my reflection.
Concerning. Anyway, I think I saw him, handling some sort of odd job for one of the locals. I'm not sure what he was doing.
Alright, well, I left him alone and I felt a little bad about it. But if he did basically what I did, then, no guilt.
By the way, the customers that we are handling discreetly, they said to give you their thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. They also said that they need to be ready at dawn.
Also useful information, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is great food, by the way.
Okay.
Is Requiem eating?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is. He is eating it, still with the strange machinations of one who doesn't remember quite how a mouth works. But there is enthusiasm, and the ghost tail is wagging as Requiem is consuming the turkey with gravy all over it. You would imagine if this was a real dog, there would be a mess everywhere. But it isn't happening. It's all going somewhere. Do you eat the steak with country gravy? Okay. Let me roll to see how well he made it. You gain 8 temporary hit points.
Hell yeah.
It's delicious.
Nom. Nom 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 nom.
Yes. You also realize how little you've eaten over the last couple days.
I was very fixated. Yes.
Yes.
This is real good.
I do have a question for you, though.
Or?
You are of the Merigard Academy, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Do you know if Elise still works there?
Does Lorna know that?
How much would she pay attention to the chatter?
I think, like, before her life changed, probably not at all. But since coming to the Merigard Academy, I think being more in tune with what's happening around her for safety's sake would be higher on her priority list. So she would generally listen just for changes, suspicions, things like that.
Then you would pick up that Elise is the warlock instructor.
Okay. I believe so. I don't take any courses with her, but I've seen her in passing.
Me and her used to be an old flame, you know.
Wow. You've got some skills. She's very beautiful.
Well,
from what I can see.
It was more of I would pursue her and she would be busy all the time. So maybe...
But you landed it, didn't you?
He actually managed to make his red tiefling face blush a little bit, and he says, well...
Something kiss and tell?
Yeah, something about that. Us bards, we tell all sorts of stories, but not that one. For fear of my life.
I was going to say, if I, went to the Merigard and brought that up to her, do you think she'd come and find you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I would at least have to explain my way out of more trouble, so don't, please.
You gonna make it worth my while?
No. I'm just going to ask you.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
You see he sighs, kind of like a mock exasperation, and then he goes back into the kitchen.
I wonder if that means he went to the Merigard. How old is he? She's just thinking these things to herself. How old is Elise?
When you're thinking to yourself, you hear in your mind Sakharin say, "Why are you asking me? I don't know."
I'm not talking to you, Sakharin.
Oh, sorry.
I have my own inner sanctuary that you are just now a part of.
Well, I've never had an owner or master or wearer ask questions of themselves in quite a direct manner before, so that was new to me. I'll just be here if you need me.
Okay. I'll definitely wake you back up as soon as I start researching our undead problem.
It is Thursday, and it is getting later in the night, and as you're sitting there thinking about this, roll me a perception check.
Okay.
In your peripheral, you see suddenly a light just flash as if like a reflection on something, or just like a little and you glance down and you see that the amulet of protection has blocked something.
Did I know that it could do that? Like it would let me know? Or
Yeah.
do I there's no way to know.
You don't know what it was.
It's
You
like
don't
a
know where it came
blocked
from.
collar, basically.
Yeah, you just know that something tried to...
Oh my God.
Something either tried to reach you or see you or something like that and couldn't.
It's nauseating. Oh fuck! How long has that been happening? Requiem.
There is a pause as the plate is completely licked clean, and Requiem kind of looks up and says, "Yes, Lorna.
So I'm a little worried.
This is not new to me."
Yes, I know. Specifically about, people following me. I would just appreciate it if you were very alert to lingering looks or people following us.
I will watch out for you.
Thank you. It'll make me feel better.
I will say, it is hard to do that whilst I'm within your clothes.
Right, so we're gonna do snake belt again tomorrow.
Very well.
You can see better that way. Ugh, she just does not feel good anymore. She's gonna push her plate away and I don't know.
You ate it, so it's...
Counter. Yeah.
Okay.
She's gonna push her plate away, push her drink away, leave a gold on the counter because she's not really thinking.
Okay.
And then go upstairs to her room.
Okay. When you go to your room, you see Tier is unconscious on the other bed.
Can I take some charcoal out of my bag?
Okay.
I want to draw on his face.
Roll me a sleight of hand.
Actually, she's gonna go to the bed, like get into it, and then she's gonna cast Mage Hand to do it. So if he wakes up, she can pretend to be asleep.
Okay.
Now we'll do a sleight of hand.
Okay.
Yes. It's finally worked out for me.
You have to beat his perception.
Oh no.
He is still a ranger, even if you
But he's
roll
at
an at 20. He is at disadvantage. But still. What are you drawing?
Lorna do? What would Lorna do? What does he have, like facial hair?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he
what
does.
kind of facial hair?
He has a chin dusting and just running up like a very faint chin strap up to his hair.
Okay. She's going to give him an eye patch.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of like a thing she's gonna write on his forehead that isn't too crude because it's Lorna. Fuck.
You didn't expect to get this far.
No, I didn't. No, I definitely did not. Not with a natural 20. What's like a more fancy way to say like playboy?
Hedonist?
That's too much.
A ladies' man, I guess? It's almost a compliment. Hold on. Thesaurus. Playboy. Rake.
Yes, that's what she's gonna write on his forehead with a little heart after it.
Okay.
Tease him.
Okay. You do that, and he does not wake up. Because you rolled a natural 20.
What did he roll?
He rolled an 18.
Yes.
So,
Gonna go to sleep with a little smile on her face because she distracted herself from the fear of scrying eyes.
okay. When you go to sleep, I need you to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Yay. Not bad.
16. You dream.
Great.
You dream of a room lined in thick red velvet. It is opulently decorated with gold and brass. Lining the walls are windows that have been curtained with thick silk curtains. You stand in this room. There is an uncomfortable familiarity to it. There is a broad lounge next to you, and laying on the lounge is the master.
Oh, great.
She doesn't say anything right away. Standing behind her on the lounge is a massive half-orc brute of a man who stands with his arms folded. What do you do?
Is she looking at me?
She is eating grapes. Very Romanesque.
Is this a dream or is this real?
The master finishes eating a grape, and then she just... Darling, you did not truly believe you could hide behind such a trinket from everything, did you?
I wasn't... I'm sorry, I didn't even think... It wasn't for you.
I understand. However, she sits up, setting the remainder of the grapes on a silver platter that's on the lounge, and she looks at you and she says, I understand our need to feel unsupervised. I will not take this as an insult, because if I did, this would be over. And I have use for you. Don't forget I am visiting in 2 weeks.
I know. I'll be ready.
Ready how?
However you want me to be.
You beautiful fool.
She's just gonna smile.
When I am there, we will discuss your future. There is
Okay.
nothing to be ready for. You can expect it like a visit from an old friend. With some strings attached. You worked quite feverishly to acquire this amulet, did you not?
I did.
I have good news. Lord Cross has been waylaid. I would have simply messaged you this, except I seem to be unable to. Oddly enough.
Sorry.
It matters not. This suits just fine. And she looks around the room. You see as she, stands up and walks across the room away from you. She's very lithe. She's not particularly tall, but her hair flows down beyond her feet as she does. And that alone is almost intimidating in how she needs not raise a hand for any of her own whims. She goes across the room, pours herself a glass of perhaps wine, perhaps whiskey. You can't tell from here. And she turns, holding it, leaning against the mahogany table that it was on. It seems as though these things are just being generated in the room as she deems them. And she walks up to you, holding that wine glass, And she says, however, before you take such protections that might affect me as well, she reaches up with her left hand, and she has extremely long nails, and she just gently pinches on your cheek, and you take 2 points of psychic damage.
Oh. Okay.
She says, I need you to remember we're working together. So I need to know of these developments.
Sorry, I didn't think of it.
Of course you didn't. And she pats the side of your face.
What do you mean by waylaid?
Well, it seems as though his investigations have crossed the wrong people in the House of Pillars. And so now he's dealing with Erevan's royal guard.
Okay.
It's all ups for us. Means we don't have to deal with him for a little while as he sits in a prison cell for the rich. I'll let you know if that changes, and if it's of a concern of yours. In the meantime, sleep well. Remember what I said. Good night. And the dream, as if flashing into red and then into darkness, ends. And you awaken to Tier shoving you on the shoulders and says, "Hey, we have to get up. We have to get moving."
Sorry.
She's gonna wipe her face to rid herself from that dream, and when she touches her own face, she's gonna look at Tears.
Tier has a clean face.
Aww. She's gonna just not make any acknowledgement as she gets up.
Roll me an insight check. Tier is moving as though he has a slight humor about him. As if he was amused.
Okay. She won't acknowledge it at all. She'll get ready.
As you're getting ready, Tier is also getting ready. Basically pulling on finer clothes than normally would be. And after he finally has like a nice tunic on, he looks over his shoulder at you and says, I didn't think it had you in you.
What are you talking about?
That was a very nice heart.
You are just... I don't know what you're talking about, Tier.
You are the worst liar. You are so...
I'm not. You're just really good at seeing through me. I'm really a good liar.
It's really a valuable skill in the right circumstance, but when you're trying to hide the fact that you wrote on your co-worker's face at night, you've got to try and keep the straight face just a little longer.
She just laughs.
Well, don't think I didn't notice the heart as he's tucking the buttons in.
I wanted to soften the blow.
That sounds nice.
Okay. Turn around.
He does. He's looking out the window now.
She's gonna dress.
Roll me a perception check.
Okay. Hopefully Requiem's sitting on the bed, just like,
Sure. Hold on, I'll roll for Requiem. Okay. You didn't see anything as you were getting dressed, but you hear Requiem in your mind and say, he, snuck a peek, Lorna. Should I bite him?
No. Eyes forward, Tier.
They are.
No, they aren't.
Oh, right, sorry. Forwards this way.
Yeah. She finishes and she says, let's go.
Lead the way.
She does. She's gonna put Requiem around her waist.
Okay. He kind of morphs from dog form
Should I
into
bite
a
him?
ghost. I mean, he would. You wrap Requiem in ghost snake form around your belt. You notice that he kind of takes on a different kind of snake this time. You notice that the snake form is less ghostly. It is still very much black and gray, but now you can actually see there are defined scales. It seems as though the more time Requiem spends in a form, the better he is at becoming it.
I love it.
As you're walking, you see Lord Callowan and Dorset are standing at the top of the stairs having a quiet conversation. Lord Callowan is wearing the royal colors of his own noble house, which is white, silver, and blue. He is very handsome for an old human. And as he turns and looks at you, he says, "Ah, pleasure to see you two this morning.
Are you ready?
As ready as we'll ever be.
This should be interesting.
If everything goes well, it will be. If everything doesn't, this is going to be exhausting.
What is well in your terms, Lord Callowan?
No arguments, no tomfoolery. The processions and arguments proceed quickly, and we have an elected king. If they...
The likelihood of it being you is...
Oh, you see, he chuckles and he says, it's not even in the cards.
Yeah, but what if?
What if? You see, he kind of gets lost in thought. And he says, Were I king, I would try and learn from the citizens of Aurelia what they need, and then give it to them.
Well, I hope you are king.
It's not likely, Lorna, but you are a sweet lass.
Well, and if you were king, I would probably take that job offer sooner rather than later.
Noted, always in self-interest. And he slams a hand onto your shoulder. Yeah. He looks he looks you and Tierra up and down. You are wearing fine clothes, yes?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
What do they look like?
It's probably clothes that she packed when she first ran away from home. So they're things that she would have worn to, like...
So it's actual finery. Things that were
like
tailored to you.
Aravan's court when they were,
Yeah, okay. Lord Callowan would look at you and say, My, but you certainly know how to dress the part, don't you?
Years of practice.
I will unlock that story from you somehow. And Tier kind of stands next to you and just is like, has his arms folded. And Callowan says, And you too, for a Tredonian scallywag. You see Tier just... I did my best. Everything pales by comparison next to this, though. And Callowan nods and says, Come, we have a castle to breach.
Mm-hmm.
And Dorset says, It's just the front door, sir. Please don't say it that way.
It's like saying hijack at an airport.
Yeah, really.
Don't do that.
Anyway, your party begins making their way up to the Golden Keep. You travel through Castletown, and it seems as though you are not the only nobles to be doing this morning. It is early as hell. The suns have just risen, but even so, people are outside their buildings watching the procession as all sorts of noble families are just marching their way up the wide stretch up to the Golden Keep. The Golden Keep itself is absolutely gorgeous. It is a structure built of white marble stone that has been ornately decorated with seams of gold for martyr in between each of the stones. It glints sunlight as you watch and approach it. It is a jewel in the town of Auger City. The hustle and bustle and the steamwork industry that occurs down in the Uld district and the Fog Rock seem to pale by comparison when you look into Castletown, and at the top of it you see this brilliant keep of white and gold. As you approach it, the gates are open, and you hear people being announced. You hear names being shouted. Names, roll me a history check.
Okay. Really good.
Names you recognize. As you are walking up, you see that there are just this broad grass field in front of the Golden Keep where not everybody is gathering. And as you enter the gates, Lord Callowan and Dorset turn to the two of you, and they say, well, Lord Callowan says, "And this is where we part. The two of you can stay outside the grounds. Busy yourself. You do not want to be inside for the procession, let me tell you. But
Right.
specifically only the families in question and their direct bodyguards," as he looks at Dorset, "are allowed inside at this time. Also, no weapons." And you see Dorset is not armed, visibly.
Lorna's gonna eye the ring that Callowan carries. She
Mhm.
knows what it does.
Yeah.
She'll just say, "Huh, of course."
He winks at you.
We'll wait for you out here.
I wish I could give you an estimate of time. It looks like everybody showed up. And he turns and he heads up to the keep.
Okay.
You find yourself amongst many other escorts. There's lots of other people that are stuck here outside the Golden Keep. There are all sorts of stone benches that are lining the massive walls that surround the Golden Keep, and you see that many of these escorts are relaxing, not really putting up guard. Roll me a perception check.
Okay. I was going to say Lorna would be particularly vigilant about people who she might know from her previous life,
Yeah.
and then avoid them as such. A natural 20.
There, you do not see anyone you remember from Saris. At least not on the ground. Because as you're looking around, you do see an ornately decorated, small, but very magical looking airship. Iron in its construction, but covered in these decorations of hewn stone and wood as it slowly drifts over the Golden Keep and it begins to drop down. And you recognize the symbols of the House of Erevan.
Wow. They really came all the way here.
Tier next to you says, "Hey, Dad.
Huh? Oh,
Who came? Who are you talking about?"
the Airbots. Saris's finest.
Not that I would know them personally.
I'm going to roll a history check to see if Tier has any clue what you're talking about.
Here's from Tridonia, or Trident.
He is from Trident, but he's not noble. He is not educated in this sort of thing. He says, "I don't know who you're talking about."
The King
It's
of
like
Trident. Sorry, the King of Saris.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that name was familiar. It's kind of like knowing who the Prime Minister of Britain is.
You're right, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
What are the names of the Eravans in current seat of power?
Roll me a history check.
Oh, Lorna would know that.
You would know King James.
Ah, feck. It's just terrible.
A natural 1.
I know King James.
You would know King James.
Damn.
I know you were.
Okay. Lorna's thinking, oh, that guy has my father in prison right now.
You hear Saccharin say,
Oh, Jesus.
Is that bad?
Sorry, Saccharin, in what world do you think prison is a good thing?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I've heard you thinking to yourself about your dad before, so I've wanted to check.
Oh, I'm like not upset that he's in there. In fact, it's great that he is, but
So it's not bad.
Well, he's probably not pleased. It's bad for him.
Yeah, but do we care about him? I'm asking about you.
I mean, I care deeply about him, but it's for the best.
I am confused, but I'll leave it there.
That's fair. Tara, what should we do?
Tyr sits down on a bench.
Okay, who's the King of Trident?
Well, Triton doesn't really have kings, per se. There's admirals, which are kind of like kings.
Who's your admiral?
Well, I'm from Procellus, so my admiral's different from someone who's from, like, Fide or Phobos or Candinos and all that.
Okay. So who's your admiral?
Admiral McTavish.
He a good leader?
He's been in control for quite a while now.
He's been in trouble?
In control, in charge.
right.
He does a fine job. You see, he kind of is thinking about it, looks a little bit wistful, and says, "Oh yeah, I almost joined the Navy instead of coming here, but wasn't really in the cards for me."
No, I can't see you bowing to authority
No.
in the way that maybe someone in the military should.
Yeah, I'm not so great with orders. It's one of the things Triss has been yelling at me about.
I feel like Rangers should have free hearts.
I agree with you. And that's mighty kind of you to say. I think that's the nicest thing you've said to me since we've gone on this adventure.
Things to you, and she's gonna pat him on the back. I've said plenty of nice things to you.
Have you? Name
I can
name
start.
two.
This.
And? That's my point.
Well, so Cabby said you were dashing last night.
Right, Cavi said that. You did not.
I agreed with him though.
No.
I did. You weren't there.
Then how can I believe you?
But I did.
You said you're a
Roll-
great liar.
Can I roll a deception check?
Yeah.
I want him to fucking believe me. I want to see if he can see right through me. That was pretty good. I
Man,
did agree with him.
Your dice have been pretty hot tonight. Hold on.
Well, minus that natural one I just rolled. A
Yeah.
question I really wanted an answer to.
He says, you shouldn't tell someone you're a good liar and then try to lie to them, because they'll know.
I don't like that you're figuring me out.
You're easy to read.
Can I just draw a line right here, right now, that you're not going to learn anything else about me?
Sure?
Are
I mean,
you here to that?
No.
Fuck.
I can't help it if I learn things by accident.
Stop observing me.
Right, sorry. And he just turns and looks the other direction.
There we go. That's what I like. See, you are good at following orders.
I did learn that you like that, so see, it happened again.
Oh no. Lorna's gonna pass the time by finding a stick and throwing it for Requiem.
Okay.
Turn back into a dog, I guess.
Okay.
Freak people out.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a thing. Let me roll for a vibe check. Oh, okay. Most people don't notice. Most people just see it as a black dog. No one's giving him too close a look.
Pretty good at his dog form.
Yeah, he looks less wispy. You can actually tell there is defined fur. That does not, however, fix the glowing white eyes without pupils. But he does look much more like a dog. He takes on the form of kind of a long-furred German shepherd that's just pure black. Looks like a hunting hound, which is exactly what he was in life. As you are playing with the dog, the time passes, and the time keeps passing, and the time keeps passing. It's into the late afternoon where Tierra looks at you and says, "Okay, maybe we can, play chess or something?"
Oh, the last time I challenged somebody to chess, they beat me soundly, and I was very embarrassed. You're not good at chess, are you?
I'm alright, I'm not great.
Great, this will be an awesome pick-me-up. She'll take out her dragon chess set.
Okay.
Try to beat him.
Tierra does not have a super high intelligence. He's not dumb, but he's not...
He's so suave.
Well, that's charisma. Okay. I will roll an intelligence check for Tierra. He is not proficient in a dragon chess set. You get to roll intelligence with proficiency.
Oh, okay. I'll do Arcana. Not great.
He puts up a sound fight. You do end up beating him, but it's much closer than you first thought it would be. You see that Thierry uses strategies that are much more aligned with someone who thinks like a hunter would. He tries to set up traps for you. He tries to set up sacrifices that would actually benefit him in the end. And when you learn that strategy is when you finally get the best of him, by making one of his sacrifices too expensive. And when you do beat him, he says, "Ah, shite."
You know, I was hoping for a much more easy win, but you put up a fight, and I both respect and resent you for it.
I'm not going to be a pushover for you.
What if I like that?
Then this can't work out, I'm afraid.
Ah. Okay, genuine question. What do you want from me?
Well, that's a good question.
So I get a general sense of what you might enjoy for 30 minutes. I don't know how it really works.
I'm almost offended. No, look. When I first met you, I thought you were all face. I thought you were all, looking down your nose at people. I could tell you were noble born. Fucking a dead rock could tell that. But I assumed you thought you were better than everyone else. It was only once, really, I saw you were humbled by a vampire when you were trying to help her. I saw a little bit more of who you actually are. So, I'm sure a night will be fun with you. I'm sure even a date will be interesting. I don't know what it is you're running from. I don't know who it is that you are hidden under there. I'd like to know. And I think that's all I want. Just a friend.
That's a good answer.
Oh, I couldn't be dating you. You're almost as good looking as me.
Right. Too powerful.
The world would collapse under our feet.
I don't think it's ready for that. I appreciate your honesty.
I've only ever been honest with you. You'll notice that I never lied to you one moment. Only one of us here. Only one of us here has been hiding the truth.
It's not you. It's not because you're you.
Do you mind telling me?
It's just not safe to be me.
That why you wanted an amulet of proof against detection?
Yeah.
Then who are you really?
I think I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, when you decide, I'd love to know so I know what to call you.
I don't dislike Lorna.
But you don't like it either.
Well, I'm not sure it's me yet. I'm not sure who I was before was me either, so,
Well, when you figure it out, I will be happy to help you reinforce that by telling everyone I know all the great things of Miss fill in the blank.
That has a lot of potential too, Villain.
Aye. Now I have another question for you, if you don't mind. What is the bloody deal with that ghost dog?
You're not a wizard, you wouldn't understand.
Try me.
You know what a familiar is?
I've heard of it.
It's a creature that you bind your soul to.
And he's yours.
Yes, I found him.
In most cases, where I grew up, when you find a ghost, binding with it's not the first thing you do. Lots of running, being afraid, finding a cleric.
Maybe someday when you know a little bit more about me, you'd know just how perfect he is.
I think that's the scariest thing you could have said.
I can't be all charming. It wouldn't be fair.
You come pretty close. I'll have you know, I'm most certainly not a rake.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the term playboy.
See, I debate. Right, of course. I need to change the way I speak.
From Nose Virginia, remember? Port Rouge.
Port Rouge. I have some plans to do some research later tomorrow, actually. I'll do a little bit on Port Rouge. Get my cover story straight. You're not going to tell anybody.
No,
I know.
it's not
I
my
know
business
you
to tell.
aren't. I know you aren't. It'd be stupid not to ask at the very least.
I think you're worrying too much.
I don't think I'm worrying enough.
What scares you so much? What could it possibly be? He leans forward on his knees to look at you, and he says, there's got to be something in there that you're willing to share with me that's more founded than mystery and enigma.
Isn't mystery and enigma so sexy?
Well, until it gets frustrating.
I don't. I've known you for a week.
Aye. It's been a hell of a week.
It has been a hell of a week. Just keep chipping away at my resolve and we'll see what happens.
He leans back. And as he does, the doors to the keep open. And as they do, you see an old man. Well, not old. Kind of middling in age. A good-looking fellow. Dark auburn hair. A brilliant, long tunic that turns into a jerkin. It's very unusual for noble wear. It's the sort of wear that could also pose as armor if it needs to. You recognize King Erevan.
King James.
At his side is a young woman with black hair, a bright smile on her face. Seeing her face, why don't you roll me a history check?
Come on. Ah, you cock.
A 10.
Come on. It's gotta be the DC, right?
It was.
Yes!
You recognize Rain Erevan, Queen of Saris. And as the two of them step out, you see King James announce, "Hey, everyone. I'm happy to announce the new King of Aurelia, of the House of Demeric, Ease." And as he stands aside, a nobleman... I need you to roll another history check.
Uh-huh. That's a lot better. I just can't keep
The house,
Sweet Erevan in my head.
the House of Demeric is one you do recognize. It is a really noble house, but they are well known for really pushing to pull Ceresian technology to Aurelia. They were always trying to sway trade deals. They were always arranging for Banasite exchange, all sorts of magical components that are pretty much exclusive to Saris to make their way over to Aurelia, and in exchange, Aurelian resources to come over to Saris. And what you knew, they were always honest in their dealings. Ease Demeric is maybe looks about maybe 30 years of age, until you realize it's a half-elf. So you don't know how old he actually is. But you see he has black hair with a single white streak running down the side of it, pulled into a sharp ponytail, and he stands in noble finery that is extremely well tailored. And he is a slender but fit man. And as he stands in front of the king's moot, in front of all of you, and all the noblemen that filed in are slowly pouring out behind him, and the suns are setting, as it was an entire day for this to go through. He stands there as what looks like a chamberlain and a paladin that just resonates holy power. Clearly a paladin of Pyrrhus, as radiant energy seems to reflect off of him in all directions, stands behind him, and he says, "I now dub you King of Aurelia, King Ease Demeric." And every single individual in the clearing says, "Long live the king!"
Join.
And it is with the crowning of King Ease Demeric. That's where we'll stop today's session.
Queen Rain! Thank God.
I thought you might like that.
That was so fun.
Good.